Hello. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So we are here live with Lauren from Tadah. How are you today?
I'm so good. So happy to be talking to you.
Good. So I'm really hoping that everything is working. This is the first time I'm using a third-party app, and I'm hoping that it's all going very well. So if anyone is online, make sure you drop in the chat box so that we can answer any of your questions. Otherwise, I'm going to get started, and we can go from there. So I might start with just giving a bit of an intro. So Lauren is the owner and runner of Tadah Patterns. I love Tadah Patterns. I started with them. They were my first PDF patterns that I bought and worked with. So I had a girlfriend who had used them, and she was like, "You've got to try Tadah." So I'm a huge fan of Tadah. I'm so incredibly grateful that Lauren jumped on as my first sponsor. As soon as I mentioned it to her, she was like, "Yes, I would love to be a part of it." So I'm so thankful to have you here. I'm excited to have you having a chat with us so that I can let my patrons know a little bit more about you. But I thought we would start with what's your name, which I've already asked, and just, I guess, a bit of a background about Tadah, how it started, and that sort of thing. So over to you, Lauren.
How far back do you want me to go? It's been a while.
As far as you want to go.
Okay. So I guess Tadah has kind of taken on a lot of different forms. I started as a handmade business called Fresh Designs. That's what it was. Fresh Design. So that was when my oldest was a baby. And so I was just making things to sell, as we all do. And then I started coming up with my own designs, and I was doing those. And then people were asking, what pattern is it? I said, it's mine. They wanted to buy it. And I went, okay, well, guess I'll give this a shot. So that's how it started. And then it was Fresh Patterns for a while, and then changed to Tadah Patterns. And that was almost 10 years ago now. So that's how we started.
Wow, I did not know it used to be called Fresh Patterns. That's exciting.
Yeah. I think it was 2 or 3 years of Fresh Patterns and then swapped.
So did you mainly swap to Tadah because you liked Tadah, I've done, was that sort of the reason behind it, or?
It wasn't a voluntary swap to begin with.
Yeah.
So someone else came along and they started using the name Fresh Patterns.
Yeah,
and I was quite naive and I didn't trademark the name. So when this person came along and I was like, oh, what do I do about this? And talked to my lawyer, and they were like, you can't do anything because you're not trademarked.
Yeah.
So I went, okay. So I either keep Fresh Patterns and people get confused, or I completely rebrand. So that was a bit of a difficult decision because rebranding isn't easy.
No.
But I talked to friends, family, and kind of thought, well, I'm not that tied to the name Fresh Patterns. I don't love it. I just had built up a name for myself with that brand, but I was like, no, it's now or never. I'm going to change it. So yeah, my dad said to me, actually, just think about the words that come to mind when you're sewing. And I was like, oh, mostly when I'm sewing, it's like, how's this going to come together? Will it work out? But then at the end, my favorite part of sewing is when you are done and you're like, I made this. Ta-da, look.
Yeah.
And so my dad was like, that's it. That's your word, Tadah Patterns. And I was like, yep, love it. So obviously, immediately I trademarked it, and then
I really do love Tadah, and I often find myself going Tadah, and I'm like, oh no, I can't say that because Lauren's trademark.
It's funny actually when I see other people, in reels or like YouTubes or whatever, and they finish sewing and go Tadah, especially if it's not my pattern. I just have it. It shows me that I've chosen a good word for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, do you do all of the pattern drafting yourself? Like, do you have a background in pattern drafting, or do you just kind of think of them and get some help with that part?
good craft the patterns myself, which surprises a lot of people. So I design them and then I send them to a professional pattern drafter. And fro between us that like a couple of days, sometimes it's like months, where I'll fit test them, I'll give her feedback, she'll send back an edit, and that just keeps going. And yeah, sometimes that can take months. And then once I've got the fit right, then she'll grade them all for me, and then I get them ready for testing. So that's kind of how it rolls.
Yeah, there's a lot of work in pattern drafting that I don't think people are aware of. Like I myself am going through, doing a bit of pattern drafting with the course that I'm doing. Like I'm studying fashion and design, and yeah, it's not as simple as I think a lot of people think it's going to be. So, especially with adult patterns, I found that it's quite involved with women's wear, particularly. Like we've got a lot of lumps and bumps that kids and men just don't have.
Yeah, and just the fact that women, the proportions are so different for every person. Like some people are bigger at the top, smaller in the middle, like other way around. It's so hard with women's wear.
Yeah, agreed.
Can I just jump the door? I'm going to shut the door because someone's got a leaf blower going.
Sure, go for it.
Sorry.
That's right. I'm expecting my dog to bark at some stage too. I'm waiting for a delivery. So, when you were a kid, is sewing something that you wanted to do, or like what did you want to be when you grew up?
When I was a kid, what I wanted to be when I grew up was a clown. Like that was legit my aspiration for so many years. And then I've always been able to sew. Both of my parents can sew. My dad was a parachute instructor, so he was literally like sewing to save his life with his parachutes, and he'd repair his own parachute and whatnot. So yeah, I just always grew up around a sewing machine. And yeah, my mum, she made all our clothes, as a lot of parents did back in that time. But yeah, no, it wasn't really something I ever thought I would do as a career. I just kind of, it was in the background for a long time. And then, yeah, it wasn't until I had kids that I came back to it, really. I mean, I did home ec in high school, and I was terrible. Like my shorts were terrible. I just didn't, it's one of those things where if you're not actually putting the passion and the energy into it, then you don't get the results. When I was not interested at all in high school, so I was just banging out these shorts and they were terrible. But when I came back to it, when I had my first, I fell in love, and it's just been love since. Like I'm constantly thinking about it. Even now, 13 years later, anytime my kids say I want this piece of clothing, I'm like, oh, I can make that. Let's do it. Let's plan it. I get excited still, which is awesome. And when they wear it, I mean, the feeling when your kids are wearing something you've made, or your partner or yourself, like the pride you get from seeing them wearing it. It's awesome.
Agreed. My daughter will often say, like, "Mummy made this." And I'm like,
yeah. Yes. I love that.
Sorry, someone has just said on the live chat that there is an echo, so I'm going to try and see if this helps. No, that's no. I'm wondering if it's that. Can you talk?
Me? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to delete that. And see if that helps. Okay. Let's see if that's any better. Erin, if you are still on, please let me know. I've got a feeling I had a extra thing going, so hopefully this has helped, but I'm sure they'll let us know. So yeah, I am the same. When I started sewing as a child, like my mum showed me how to. She said it is. Thanks, Erin. My mum showed me how to sew, and then I used to sew for my dolls. And then I took a bit of a big break. Like I actually really liked home economics. I loved doing all that stuff, and I made both my year 11 and 12 formal dresses.
That's good.
But when I had my daughter, I wasn't really that into it, because I only knew about paper patterns, and as we know, they're so hard to follow. And even though I knew what I was doing, I was still like, what is this?
The instructions on those patterns, they hurt my head.
It's just, they're awful. When I'm teaching face to face and my students bring in paper patterns, I'm like, all right, let's just go with this. We're just gonna nut it out.
Often the instruction is really too on those.
Yeah, they are.
There's an easier way to do this.
Very odd.
Why are we making it harder than it needs to be?
And it's funny, a lot of the inquiries I get about my face-to-face classes are, I really want to learn how to read patterns. And I said, I totally understand, because they get disheartened. They start a pattern, they can't finish it, and then they're like, this is just too hard, and they give it up. So I'm like, I promise there's an easier way. So yeah, it's definitely one of the biggest requests I get is to learn how to read patterns. So where your patterns come in. And a lot of the indie patterns, I think, because you don't have the limitations of printing, and I know you do printed patterns as well, but in general your instruction booklets can be more detailed because you don't have the limitation of one A2 sheet.
Black and white only.
So definitely an advantage there. But when my daughter was 1, I started sewing with Tadah Patterns, and I was desperate for another girl because I just wanted to go back and make all the teeny tiny little baby clothes, but I had my son, which we love, Ted, but and even there's heaps of boy patterns that I have since discovered, like the Elliot romper. I love your Elliot romper. I still haven't made that Elliot romper that we both promised we would make a year ago.
Oh, I know. And I was thinking about that today because I saw someone post an Elliot romper, and I'm about to reshare it on the Tadah page. But when I saw that, I thought of you. I still.
Don't worry, I haven't made it either. We're getting into summer though. Hopefully, I've got some linen still sitting there, ready to go. So yes. Other than sewing, what else do you enjoy doing? Do you like reading or walking along the beach, or what kind of hobbies do you enjoy?
Free time.
It's a hard one.
Well, I like exercising. I guess that's my hobby.
Yeah.
I love going to the gym. I try to convince myself to run, but that doesn't work so much. But I like just movement. I like getting my heart pumping. Going to the beach with my kids. I mean, anything outdoor with the kids, I love to do. Yeah, that's my free time.
So, do you live near the beach? You're in Sydney, aren't you?
Yeah, we're near the beach. We're on the northern beaches.
Oh, nice.
Right up the most northern end of Sydney.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the beach. I feel like if I'm anywhere in the world but I find a beach, I feel at home. I'm a beach girl. My husband's more of a river camper person, but the beach has my heart.
I know. Or just any body of water. My husband's Canadian, and when we were in Calgary for a while, there was just no water around, and I just felt like there was something missing the whole time, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And then every time I city and there's a little river that goes by the city, I'd be just hearing the running water. Oh, that's what it is. It's the water, just being around the water. So I guess maybe that's one of my interests, being in the water. Being around water.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a sunrise fanatic too. I love seeing a sunrise.
I am not a morning person. But when I've got a really exciting project on, or like, since I've started really sort of ramping up so until like I find myself going to bed quite late, and I'm like, oh, if I get up before the kids, like I'll get another hour's worth of work done before they wake up.
Yeah,
But
that's
half the
part of
time
why I
the
like
kids,
it.
yeah, the kids are pretty good at, stamping out those plans, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And I still don't feel like I get to school on time.
Before sunrise that day and be like, "It's your mum."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favourite holiday spot that you like to go? I know you said you're on the beach, so that's pretty idyllic, but is there anywhere you like to go in particular to holiday?
Any holiday's a good holiday, right? We go to the snow every year.
Ah, yeah.
We love to ski and snowboard, so that's a bit of a favourite. Partly because of the tradition of it, but otherwise, no, I don't really have a favourite. I'm just happy to go anywhere that's not home,
Yeah.
where you don't have to do the work of the meals and all of the like day to day, just adulting. Any holiday.
Have you done much overseas travel, seeing as your husband is Canadian?
Well, not in the last couple of years,
Well, yeah.
that's for sure. No, we've had a few trips to Canada, but it starts to get really expensive once you have kids that aren't on a free ticket anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and his parents visit us every year.
Oh, that's good.
So, yeah.
We're actually thinking about going to Canada ourselves in 2024.
Oh, nice.
So we might meet them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got friends that live over there, so other friends are talking about going as well, so we thought maybe we could do like a joint trip with a little side Disneyland trip.
Yeah, we're going to Disneyland this year. So fun.
I love Disneyland. I'm a big Disneyland.
I've never been. Well, I went when I was a little girl, but I haven't been since. I think I'm more excited than the kids, particularly Sia, because she doesn't even know who Mickey and Minnie Mouse are. So I keep saying to her, we're going to see them. And she's like, so what? Like, what is this? If it was Bluey, if I said we were visiting Bluey, it would blow her mind. But she doesn't even know who they are. So
we took Gemma. She was actually younger than Sia, younger than Ted.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, she's not even going to remember. I'm like, I'm not going for her.
Yeah.
Because I want to go.
Kids.
Yeah. I don't care if she knows or not. Like, it's about what I want to see. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't remember if I asked this, but what was your first job that you ever had? Like, what was your jobs prior to Tadah and the handmade stuff?
First job I ever checkout chick. That was my first job. Working at Coles or Woolies. I don't even know which one it was. Then I had some fast food jobs. That was fun. And then I was a swimming teacher. So I ran a swim school for a little bit. It was like a good 5 years or so I ran a swim school. But my main job, I was a primary school teacher.
Oh, okay.
So, that's my background. That's why my instructions are so detailed, because it's the teacher in me that's like, I need to lay it out nice and clear, step by step.
Well, it works to your advantage because you have created and built an incredible business. So
thank you.
It's amazing. What career advice would you give someone who's just starting out in their own business, like whether it's in patterns or anything to do in sort of the sewing world or just anything in general? Like, you're 10 years in, I think you said, to Tadah Patterns. So if you could go back and sort of tell yourself at the start, is there anything you would change or any advice you would give yourself?
I was thinking about this the other day, actually. My advice would be to set everything up properly from the start. Like I was saying with the trademarking, I just kind of rolled with things and it all grew organically. And as everything kind of blew up, I guess, I had to adapt what I was doing, my methods and my business structure and, stuff. Get all the legal stuff sorted, and that all came after the fact when it was necessary. But if I had all of that set up at the start, life would have been easier. Life would have been so much easier and, more efficient. And so that would be my main. Get everything set up properly from the start and then you can hit the ground running.
I guess that's a money thing too, though. You know, like
That's true. Yeah.
it costs money to set up all those things. Like there are things in my business that I should probably be doing, but I just don't have the money yet. So you know.
Yeah, that's true. It's easy in hindsight to go, oh, you should have done that at the start. But yeah, I started my business with a couple of $100, so
yeah,
I couldn't have done that stuff. It's nice to think about it though. If you like, I was listening to a podcast, and the podcaster was asked, if you had, I think it was $2,000 to start a business, where would you invest in? And it was so interesting to see what she said, because it was mainly like all the boring stuff, like legal things and, you know, all that stuff that you don't get excited about when you're starting a business.
Yeah.
But is the important parts. She didn't say anything about buying fabric. Like, I don't know what's wrong with this lady.
You need to stop following this woman because you know, it is all about the fabric.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you have a favourite memory about Tadah Patterns? Like, is there anything that's happened in the last 10 years that you're just like, yeah, I really remember that being a good feeling, or yeah, like, is there anything that you remember in particular?
That's so hard. Like, everything has changed so much. When I started out, it was like the pattern world back then was really a lot smaller. And I had some testers that started testing with me that, like, in my very first pattern test, and some of them are still good friends 10 years later. So that's definitely a highlight.
Yeah.
And then along the way, all the people you meet and, you know, like getting to know you and like plenty of other friends I've made along the way, building those connections is probably my favorite part.
Yeah.
But in terms of like a more of a like moment in time sort of memory, the first time I saw a Tadah pattern like out in the world without, like, I'd seen it when I did expos and people would come up to my stand with their kids in my stuff, and that's awesome too, which was great. But just to randomly see someone out on the street, and because I live in such a small little part of Sydney, like, you know, it's not like I'm in the city and I'm exposed to a lot of people. Like, it's just our little community. And I saw someone at our local daycare walking in with a Tadah tea party on, and it, like, I was so happy.
Were you like,
it was only like 2 years ago or something. Like, it took that long.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But that was a nice little memory.
Did you chase after them and be like, "That's my pattern"?
No, I didn't want to be a creep. So I was pretty sure it was a tea party. You know, it had the cutout.
Yeah.
Back,
the razor back, yeah.
It was obviously handmade. You can tell a handmade. I think it was a frozen fabric. Anyway, no. And then I wrote in my group saying, "Does anyone know who made this?" I don't even know, like, if it was a mum-made dress or if they bought it at a market, or maybe they found it secondhand at the Salvos. I've got no idea, but no one came forward. No.
Mystery frozen tea party dress.
Yeah.
Was the tea party the first pattern you released?
No. There was Tadah before a tea party.
Wow. No, I can't.
No, the butterfly tea dress was the first one. I think the tea party was like quite far down the line, maybe 10th or something. The seaside was before that, and longies, and there was.
Do you remember how many patterns you sold of the first one, like the day you launched? Did you sell any on the day you launched?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Good
I can't remember how many, but I remember I had dinner with my parents that night, and like, I'd been working on it for so long that you get to the point where you're like, is anyone even going to buy this? Like, am I wasting my time? And I was so relieved. And then, my dad said, was it worth it? And I was just glowing. I was like, oh, it was totally worth it. It was worth it all. Looking back, financially, it probably wasn't worth it, but it was the start.
Yeah.
And it went well.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I think you've created an incredible business. So thank you. Monica, who's watching live, has popped in the chat and said, I love your pattern instructions, Lauren. So easy to follow and diagrams are super helpful. And I would 100% agree.
Thank you, Monica.
She also said you both look lovely, so thank you.
Even better.
I forgot to put makeup on, so whoopsies.
Oh, I know. This morning I was getting ready and my husband's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I've got a life today. I've got to look good straightening my hair. This is not what I look like. It's like messy bun with bits hanging out. Yeah.
Well, you know me. I think I've built my whole business off my dressing gown. So, excuse me. I think people are confused when I don't have it on. They're like, "Where's your dressing gown?" But what can I say? I just love it.
You got to be real, right?
Especially in Melbourne, like, you know, it's so up and down with the weather. It's just easy to throw it on and it's warm and comfy. But
exactly. Yeah.
Yes. And what, we might finish up in a minute, but what are your 3 top sewing tools that you couldn't live without?
That's like the hardest question you've got for me.
Yeah, I know.
I know. My projector.
Oh, how good a projector.
I'm a projector, but now I do a lot of action because I got a new cutting table.
Yeah.
I just didn't sew. I was like, I don't want to print things out. So my projector, that's one. Rotary cutter, for sure.
Yeah, I saw your reel that you did, and someone was asking about your rotary cutter, the True Cut ergonomic one.
I was actually going to film a little reel about it because every time, like, I post a video of me cutting something out, I forget that it's different to the normal one. People ask about it, so yeah, I'll film a little reel. But it's ergonomic, so basically it just doesn't strain your wrist because of the angle. What else? I reckon loop turner.
A loop turner. Interesting.
Yeah.
And what machines do you sew on? Let's say what machines you sew on.
Can you see them?
So have you got a baby lock?
I've got a baby lock. That's my cover stitch.
Yeah.
Benina overlocker. That's my brother, and you can't see because it's behind my computer, but I've got an industrial Benina.
Ooh.
As well.
I've thought about getting an industrial, but I don't really have the room.
It's quite loud.
Yeah, and the room.
If I was sewing at night with kids in the house, it wouldn't. But I'm separate from the house, so it doesn't. They don't hear it. But if you're in the same house, it would be.
Yeah, well, I'm now, like, my sewing room is next door to the kids' room. Like, this was my son's room, and now they're in together in the next room. So
yeah,
I don't think it would work. But I think for what I'm doing in terms of teaching other people and sharing tips and tricks, it's better for me to be on domestic machines anyway.
Yeah, whenever I'm filming videos, it's on the domestic one because the industrial just goes so fast. You can't, like, in the video, you can't actually see the needle moving because it just goes.
Oh, really?
Quickly. Yeah, it kind of does that weird thing, you know, when what's the word I'm looking for? The frames per second.
Oh, yeah.
And the speed of the needle, they're not, like, it just doesn't work. And so it looks like it's slow motion, but it's actually going so fast. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
It's not good for video, so it wouldn't work for you.
I think what I sew on a Janome, my overlocker is the 644D, which I love.
I had one of those. Yes, I love them.
Yeah, but I would like to save up and get a baby lock overlocker just because it's that little bit faster. But I'll still keep my Janome because it's such a workhorse.
What's that?
It's such a workhorse, the Janome. Like, I'll still keep it.
I've got mine as my backup when this one goes in for a service. If it just decides to not play along one day, and I pull out the trusty Janome.
They are a very good machine, the 644Ds.
Yeah.
Well, I think we might wrap it up there. Thank you so much for your time today, Lauren.
It's a pleasure.
If anybody has any questions, make sure you pop them in the chat box. If you're watching the replay, this will stay, like, it's recorded, so you can pop them in the chat box and either Lauren or myself can reply to them. Make sure you jump on Lauren's socials. She's got Facebook, Instagram. I put all the links in the Patreon and in the YouTube description as well, so jump in her Tadah Pattern Party. I love that group name too, the Tadah Pattern Party. It's so fun. And thank you again for hopping in, and thank you so much again for being one of the sponsors of my launch month. It means the world to me. So if you are the machinists can't see this, but if you're a cover stitcher, make sure you jump and get the 20% off the patterns too. There are some great patterns. I highly recommend the Tea Party, the Elliot Romper, all the baby basics are, great patterns too. Do you have a favourite pattern, or is that like asking your favourite child?
Oh, yeah, it is a little bit. It depends on the season and the age of my kids. Whatever I sew that they will happily wear.
Yeah.
Particularly, like, I've got a teenager now, so anything that she will wear out with her friends is my favorite. So at the moment, street jacket, surf suit. My kids, like, they beg for surf suits. One of them has picked out 4 fabrics.
Oh wow!
Like, I want 4 surf suits. So yeah, they're probably my favorites at the moment: surf suit and street jacket.
Well, make sure.
I love making trackies. Trackies. Yeah.
Yeah, trackies are a staple.
And the kids wear them it's summer now, but over winter, it's home from school, the trackies go on.
Yeah, I live in trackies too. Trackies and my dressing gown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Glamorous life over here at Sew and Tell headquarters.
I love it.
All right, well, thank you again for joining us, Lauren.
Thanks for having me.
And we will see you around the traps.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you. So now I'm going to jump to a intermission. So if you're watching live, go and grab yourself a coffee or go to the toilet, and we'll be back very shortly. So we're back. Hopefully you all had a chance to get yourself a drink and go to the toilet. I see that Erin has jumped in and you can now comment. Yay, welcome Erin. So our second wonderful lady that I'm talking to is Jess from So Unique Fabrics. She's based in Perth. I was a strike sewer with Jess for, I think it was just over 6 months, which was a really fun time. I am a huge advocate of Jess's fabrics. They are incredible quality. Really, really love everything that you do. So thank you for joining me on this live stream chat and having a chat with our cover stitchers. And thank you so much for being one of my initial sponsors. It meant a lot to me. As soon as I sort of mentioned to Jess what I was doing, she jumped on straight away and was like, yep, happy to be one of your sponsors. So I'm very, very happy and welcome. So I'll throw over to you, Jess, and just sort of let us know sort of your name, where you're from, which I've already sort of covered, but a little bit about So Unique Fabrics.
Thanks very much, Megan. Absolute pleasure. And I was honoured that you offered and asked me to be one of your launch sponsors. So truly grateful for the opportunity as well. So about me. Well, I'm Jess from Perth, as Megan had said. Good old quiet Perth, segregated from the rest of Australia. But I love being over this side of Australia. And with So Unique Fabrics is now my 4th baby. Actually, I should say my 5th baby, including my dog. So this is my everyday job now. Never really found it as a job as such. This is probably the longest serving business that I've ever continued with. I've done a few in the past, and this one is by far the one I've most enjoyed and the one that I've stuck out as well. So I think that's a good thing. Definitely not easy. There are definitely good days and bad days, like everything, but absolutely love what I do.
Yeah, I was talking with a friend earlier and I said, you never work as hard as you do in your own business, but as much as I say it's hard work, like I love it. I live for it, it's just so satisfying and it's tough, but the reward you get, I think, is definitely worth it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I've learnt anything, my middle child, Isabel, who has, since I started, she's always said she wants to own her own business. And obviously she was quite young when I first started So Unique Fabrics, so I didn't really understand, but it's only been in the last 6 months I've asked her, I said, what is it about running your own business that you want to do? She says, but Mum, I see you, like, you can have holidays off with us. And I said, yeah. And she goes, some days you can go, I'm not working today, but I'll work tomorrow instead, on your day off. She said, I want to be like that. Like,
what an incredible role model you're setting for her.
Yeah, it's satisfying to know that they've picked up on, how I run a business, and albeit I'm still very much learning a lot of things. Probably grateful that my husband knows a lot about businesses and his success with it. So, but it's nice to know that she's taken that on board and going, you know what, mum's doing her own business and she can work flexible hours, so that I can do all the sports carnivals and swimming stuff and after school activities with the girls. So nice to know that they appreciate it as well, which is huge.
And what was your job before this? Like what was your background, I guess?
So from the day I started year 1, I absolutely loved my year 1 teacher. She was just incredible. She's that teacher that you never ever forget. We were actually invited to her wedding, and
wow,
after she got married, I said to my mum, I want to be a teacher. And I chopped and changed a little bit. I went from being, I wanted to be a physio, I wanted to be a surgeon at some point. Not sure.
I don't think you have the bedside manner for that. Like, you're too nice. You need to be more blunt to be a surgeon.
And then I just went on, and teaching, it always came back to teaching. I wanted to teach children. I wanted that reward of seeing kids grow, you know. It's so incredible to watch them. And I taught year ones my very first year out, and they come in with no ability to read. And back then, when I first started, they weren't doing all the reading and the sounds in kindy and pre-primary. It was still very, very play-based. So to get them in year one, and they had no idea of letters and sounds and reading, and then by the end of year one, some of these kids are reading chapter books and novels, and writing absolutely amazing stories. So that was the best.
Yeah.
In saying that now, do I want to go back to teaching? Not really. It's very different now. And I do the occasional odd relief day. I know I had to help out during the peak COVID times earlier this year. And it's a struggle. It's really tough out there now.
Yeah.
So I definitely love what I do. So
I think there's that element of your own business too, like your daughter picked up on, like, if you're a bit slower to start in the morning, that's okay. You know, you don't have to be at a certain time, you know. So but then there's the flip side of, if you've got a deadline, you're up till, you know,
that's it.
Whatever hour to get it done.
Yeah. And I think the hard part, you know, there's pros and cons to working from home as well. And a lot of people come in here and go, oh, you need a warehouse, Jess. And I always say, yeah, a warehouse would be great, but during the holidays, to take my children there to work, like, they're not old enough to stay at home by themselves for a full day. This here, and yes, then working from home allows me, I then tend to work probably too much at night. You know, once the girls go to bed, I'm like, oh, I can quickly, let's see if I can do some design. You don't switch off. But I am getting better at that. I am trying very much to stick to, you know, working out in my workshop. You know, from 9 till no later than 2 o'clock, because then I know from 2 o'clock I've got 45 minutes before school pickup just to get some stuff organised. And some days it works, some days it doesn't. It is what it is. I can only do what I can do.
I think it's hard when you love what you do too, because, like, I'm like, oh, I only get, you know, 6 hours to do something, you know.
6 hours.
I want more.
That's it. And I can duck in and go put on a load of washing in the middle of it all. So
yeah,
I think that's also really beneficial, being able to, you know, quickly duck inside, do what I need to do, and come back to it. So
yeah,
definitely.
So other than sewing, is there any kind of other hobbies you like to do, or is it mainly sewing?
If I had time for other hobbies, my children get me as their hobby, I think. Look, I'm starting netball back tonight. Now, I haven't played netball since I was in high school, so it's going to be fun, but I am a little bit nervous because it's been almost 20 years since I've been on a netball court. But yeah, my hobbies are honestly watching my kids do sport.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I love being out there watching them. So my eldest does soccer, and she's just started futsal now on a Saturday morning comp. My middle child she's just started cheer.
You're gonna be cheer mum.
She's my netballer, so you know we do a lot of winter nights in the rain. They all do swimming, and my third, Hannah, she started netball this year and has absolutely loved it. And she's
good.
She's so like me, what I am now. She's nothing like me as a child.
Yeah,
I was shy, very timid. On court, she just amazes me. You know, she was the child that didn't speak until she was very late on, 2 years old. She didn't walk till she was almost 2, and so delayed in everything. But you know what? She's caught up, and she cracks me up.
Yeah, the youngest are a little bit special, aren't they? You there? Oh, you there? Hello? I think we've lost Jess for the minute. I'm going to call her